Good day, students. Welcome to mathgotserved.com. In this clip, we're going to be going over how to solve quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. This standard is covered in Algebra 1, 2, and Pre-Calculus courses. Don't forget there are 3 practice problems at the end of this presentation that we'd like you to try out in order to demonstrate mastery of the standards covered in this tutorial. To gain access to our entire playlist, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and take a look at the link in the description below, or just visit our website at mathgotserved.com. Alright, to get us started, what we're going to do first is take a look at the quadratic formula, the formula that's basically going to guide our problem solving process. Alrighty, so the quadratic formula is as follows. So the quadratic formula basically helps you find the solution to a quadratic equation. So the solution to the quadratic ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Notice it's in standard form, okay? The solution is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, this entire thing divided by 2a. Okay, so this is basically the quadratic formula for you. So I talked about standard form earlier. How do you know a quadratic is in standard form? First of all, it's set equal to 0, and the terms are written in descending order of degrees. Okay, so you have the quadratic term first, the linear term, the linear term second, and then you have the constant term as the last. All right, so let's just look at this right here. This is the quadratic term right here. The degree is 2. This is the linear term right here. The degree is 1. And this is a constant term right here. The degree is 0. 2, 1, 0. You're counting down. Okay? So the quadratic equation is set equal to 0, and the terms are written in descending order of degree. In that form, you know that it's in standard form. Okay, so let's just put the name of the form on this side here. This is called the standard form. And the part of the quadratic that I have in red right there has a special significance. It can basically help you to classify what the nature of the root is, okay, or the nature of the solutions. That b squared minus 4ac is known as the discriminant, okay? And we have a tutorial on our YouTube page that explains exactly what role the discriminant plays in helping you predict what the nature of the roots of a quadratic equation are. All right, so there you have it. So let's go ahead and take a look at some examples. All right, so the instructions for the examples that we're working on is to solve the given quadratic equation, using the quadratic formula. Okay, all right, so question number 1. Let's say we have the quadratic equation given by 3x squared minus 5x equals 1. All right, so we're going to solve this using the quadratic formula. Now, what we're going to be doing in this presentation is we're going to be making a list of common mistakes that students make when solving quadratics using the quadratic formula. We're going to keep a tally of them on the right side here and be referring to them as we are solving the problem. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and rewrite the problem. We have 3x squared minus 5x equals 1. Okay, so first things first is we want to make sure that this quadratic is written in standard form. So is this quadratic in standard form? The answer is no. Okay, in order to place it in standard form, it has to be equal to 0 and in descending order of degree. Okay, So is it equal to 0? Nope, is equal to 1. So we need to do some work there. So what we're going to do first is we're going to place a rewrite in standard form. So rewrite in standard form. What is the standard form of quadratics? The standard form of quadratics is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Okay, so the issue here is we need to move the constant term to the left. To achieve that, we're going to subtract 1 from both sides, and then we are going to have 3x squared minus 5x minus 1 equals 0. Okay, all right, so that takes us to the first common mistake that students make when solving quadratics using the quadratic formula. Mistake number 1 is students forget to write the quadratic in standard form. All right, so number 1, not writing the equation in standard form. If you do not write it in standard form, you're going to have some problems executing the quadratic formula. All right, so let's take a look at the next step. Now, the beauty of writing the quadratic in standard form is that it enables you to accurately determine what a, b, and c are. Okay, so what's a, b, and c? A is the coefficient of the leading term, namely the quadratic term. B is the coefficient of the linear term, and c is the constant. Alrighty, now you do not always have to have b or c for a quadratic. You can have one or the other, but you're always going to have a, okay, for a quadratic, or else it's not going to be a quadratic. Now, so we have a, b, c. So let's go ahead and write down what they are. So a is equal to 3, b is equal to -5, and c is equal to -1. Now, do you see why it's important to write the quadratic in standard form? Well, that takes us to the second common mistake that students make, and it's connected to the first one. Sometimes it might not, but sometimes it is. So the second mistake students make is they use the wrong a, b, and c value. All right, so you got to be careful with that. Sometimes students forget the sign or other mistakes, but if you write it in standard form, go in alphabetical order. Leading coefficient is a, b, and then c. You do not take the variables, just take the coefficients. Notice we have only numbers here with their signs. Okay, so now that we know a, b, and c, to avoid making mistakes, we're going to rewrite our quadratic formula. Okay, so the quadratic formula is x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, and the entire thing will be divided by 2a. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and substitute. So we're going to have x equals, now in my substitution here, I'm going to make a small mistake, and then I'm going to talk about it, and then we're going to fix it. All right, so we have -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4, a is 3, c is -1, all over 2a. So all this is divided by 2a. All right, so do you see the mistake that I made in this problem? The mistake here is it's -b, but since b is negative, I say, oh, I'll just write a negative here. Well, that's incorrect. Whenever you're making substitutions, especially when you're substituting a negative number, guess what? Always use a parenthesis, okay? So you have a parenthesis and there's a negative here. So this is a big mistake many students make, is they make the error associated with negative. They leave out negatives. Just for some reason, the negative sign disappears and your answer will be wrong. So let's write common mistake number 3 is leaving out negatives. So to help us avoid making that mistake, you want to use parentheses for your substitution always, especially when you're substituting negative numbers like b and c are both negative. Okay, so let's go ahead and proceed. So x is going to become, now I'll simplify this, minus times minus is plus 5, plus or minus the square root of, now what is negative 5 squared? Quantity negative 5 squared is going to be positive 25 minus, and then you can multiply this 3. 4 times 3 is 12, and then 12 times negative 1 is negative 12, and then this 2 minuses, you multiply them together, so that becomes a 12, and then you have a 12 right there. Okay, so this takes us to the next common mistake that students make, which is the order of operations. Okay, you need to follow your order of operations when simplifying the resulting expression after substituting values into the quadratic formula. Okay, so order of operation errors, we're going to call them the PEMDAS errors. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division. Remember, they have the same order. You do it from left to right. And then addition, subtraction, they're in the same level. You do it from left to right. So PEMDAS, or order of operation errors. So you need to be careful with that. Okay, so notice I did under the square root right here, I did the exponent first, and then I multiplied this next. Okay, all right, so to finish this off, we're gonna simplify the radicand. So we have 5 plus or minus the square root of 37 divided by 6. Okay, so we have two roots to this quadratic. Can you see what the two roots are? Well, let's show you what they are. So your roots are, the first one is 5 minus the square root of 37 over 6, or the second one is 5 plus the square root of 37 over 6. Okay, now this is one way of writing down the answer. You can also write this as is equivalent to writing it as x equals 5 over 6 minus root 37 over 6, or x equals 5 over 6 plus root 37 over 6. So depending on what your teacher wants, you can write it in this format I have right here, or you can write it in this format I have on the right side. The beauty of the format on the right side is it helps you avoid making mistakes when you're reducing, because students mess up the reduction process. In this particular presentation, there is no simplification involved, but in the next presentation that we're going to be uploading, there is going to be simplification of radical and reduction of the resulting expressions involved. So go ahead and look out for that, and try those ones out too. All right, it's now your turn to do some practice. So what we'd like you to do at this time is solve the given quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. So go ahead and pause this video presentation at this time and solve these three problems. When you're done, click on the play button, and we are going to reveal to you what the correct answers are. Welcome back. Hopefully you had a chance to try out these problems. Let's take a look at what the answers are. Answer to question number 1 is x equals 5 minus root 37 over, oh sorry, that's the wrong answer. That's the one we did initially. The first one, the answer is 3 plus root 89 over 10. And x equals 3 minus root 89 over 10. All right, number 2, the answer is x equals negative 5 plus root 33 over 2. And x equals negative 5 minus root 33 over 2. Okay. All right, number 3, we have negative, the first answer we have x equals -3 plus root 89 over 10. And then the second one is x equals -3 minus root 89 over 10. Okay, so how well did you do with these three practice problems? Go ahead and let us know in the comment section below how well you did. What are the mistakes that you made when working out these problems? Let us know also. And if there are any questions or comments that you'd like to make about these problems, or maybe what we went over in the presentation, just specify it in the comment section below and we'll be glad to respond. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this presentation. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. We upload videos to our page on a regular basis. If you found the contents of this presentation helpful in your studies of quadratics, do give us a like. Your positive feedback is very valuable to us. If you have any questions, comments, or special requests, just include it in the comment section below and we'll be more than glad to respond. Don't forget to visit our website at mathgotserved.com for tons of resources to assist you in your studies of algebra. And also take a look in the link in the description below to find any specific tutorials that you want to watch to help you master mathematics. Thanks again for watching and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.